Have you ever wondered why some men seem magnetic to women, while others get ignored, overlooked, or even disrespected? What if I told you it's not about your looks, your money, or your status, but about one thing, your attitude? Pause, watch video till the end, and PLS like and subscribe to our channel Stoic Mysteries. Rule 1. Respect yourself first. There's a universal truth. Brother, people will treat you the way you treat yourself. If you walk through life acting like you're not worth much, others will believe you. Let me take you into a story. Daniel was a good man. He had a solid job, a decent apartment, and a heart bigger than most. But every time he met a girl, he gave up little pieces of himself. He'd cancel on his best friend's birthday just to be available for her. He'd change his opinion about movies, politics, even food, just to match hers. He thought this was love. He thought this was respect. But deep down, he was teaching her something dangerous. That his time, his opinions, his very identity didn't matter. One night, sitting alone after another breakup, he finally realized it wasn't bad luck. It wasn't that all women are the same, it was him. He was training people to undervalue him because he undervalued himself. Here's the psychology behind it. Humans mirror what they see. If you constantly put yourself second, people subconsciously assume you're not valuable. That's why you'll notice confident men who don't bend on their principles often get more respect, not just from women, but from everyone. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "A man's worth is no greater than the worth of his ambitions." If your ambitions are weak, if your mission is just to please, then that's exactly how people will treat you, as weak. Think about this in Western culture. A man in Los Angeles or London who has boundaries, who says, "Sorry, I can't meet tonight. I've got a gym session," or "I don't agree with that." Here's why. Might sound stubborn to some, but to the right woman, that's magnetic. Why? Because she sees a man who respects his body, his time, his voice. And if he respects himself, he'll respect her too. Here's a quick test. If you're always saying yes just to avoid conflict, you're losing respect. If you're afraid to walk away from someone who disrespects you, you're losing respect. And if you believe love means giving up who you are, you're losing yourself. True respect begins with this simple truth. You are the prize. Not in an arrogant, "I'm better than everyone" way, but in a grounded, stoic way. I know my value, and I won't let anyone, woman or man, treat me like I don't matter. When you stand in that mindset, you'll see a shift. Women will respond differently. Conversations will flow differently. And instead of you begging for respect, people will give it freely, because you already gave it to yourself. So remember, don't just respect her. Respect you, because if you won't, why should she? Rule 2, stop chasing, start attracting. Let's paint a scene. It's Friday night in Chicago. Two guys walk into the same bar. The first one, let's call him Mike, is desperate. He scans the room like a hunter. Every girl he sees, he approaches within minutes. He buys drinks, drops cheesy lines, laughs too loudly at his own jokes. The more he tries, the more women lean away. He doesn't realize it, but his desperation is screaming louder than his words. Now look at the second guy, Chris. He's not running around. He's chilling with his friends, cracking jokes, genuinely enjoying himself. He makes eye contact with women, sure, but he's not throwing himself at anyone. And guess what? Women notice him. They notice his calm, his presence, his lack of neediness. Here's the lesson. Women are drawn to men who are centered in themselves. When you chase, you signal one thing, scarcity. You're basically telling her, "I don't believe I can get you unless I overcompensate." But when you attract, you're signaling abundance. You're saying, I don't need you to complete me, I already have a full life. If you join, great. If not, I'll be fine. Psychology calls this pre-selection. Women are biologically wired to notice men who seem wanted by others, who don't need to prove themselves. Think about celebrities, athletes, or even the quiet, confident guy in your office. They're not always chasing. They're too busy living. And that's exactly why people chase them. The Stoics understood this centuries ago. Epictetus said, "Don't explain your philosophy, embody it." Translation, don't run around trying to convince women you're valuable. Be valuable. Build a life so good, so strong, so fulfilling, that women feel pulled into your orbit. Here's an example. You love photography? Go out, shoot pictures, build your art. You love fitness? Hit the gym consistently, not for her approval, but for your growth. You love business? Focus on building it day by day. When you chase your passions, Women feel that energy. It's different from the guy chasing numbers in his phone. Culturally, think about dating apps in the US or UK. Men who send 10 copy-paste messages rarely get replies. But the guy who has an interesting life, cool hobbies, strong pictures, confidence doesn't need to send dozens of texts. One thoughtful message is enough. The paradox is this: the less you need to chase, the more you attract. Because women don't want a man who makes them his only mission. They want a man with a mission already burning inside him. So next time you feel the urge to chase, pause. Ask yourself, what am I showing her? That I need her validation? Or that I'm a man who's already whole, already strong, already living? Because the truth is this: attraction is silent but powerful. Chasing is loud and always weak. Rule 3, confidence without arrogance. Confidence is magnetic. Arrogance is repulsive. The line between the two is thin but critical. Picture this. There's a guy named Ryan. He walks into a cafe in London wearing a sharp jacket. Head high, shoulders back. He doesn't speak much, but when he does, it's calm and direct. People notice. They feel drawn to him. That's confidence. Now look at another guy, Jason. He walks into the same cafe. Loud voice, bragging about his job, flexing his watch, trying to dominate every conversation. People notice him too, but for all the wrong reasons. That's arrogance. So what's the difference? Confidence is rooted in self-respect. Arrogance is rooted in insecurity. Psychologists explain it like this: confidence is believing I'm enough. Arrogance is screaming, please believe I'm enough. One is calm, the other is desperate. Marcus Aurelius once said, waste no more time arguing about what a good man should be. Be one. True confidence doesn't need to announce itself. It shows up in silence. It shows up in actions. Let's break this down practically. Confidence is being okay with rejection because, rejection doesn't reduce your worth. Confidence is looking a woman in the eye, not because you're trying to dominate her, but because you respect her and yourself. Confidence is walking away when something doesn't align with your values. Arrogance, on the other hand, is all external. It's the guy who brags about his money because he fears without it no one will care. It's the guy who constantly interrupts others to prove he's smart. It's the guy who can't handle being wrong. Western culture highlights this everywhere. Think about Hollywood. Actors like Keanu Reeves, calm, grounded, humble, are universally admired. Meanwhile, loudmouth celebrities often burn out, mocked for their arrogance. Women see the difference instantly. Here's a small story. A friend of mine, David, once told me he used to fake confidence by acting cocky around women. It never worked. But when he started focusing on himself, improving his health, his career, his inner discipline, something shifted. He no longer needed to act confident. He simply was, and women noticed without him saying a word. So remember this, brother. Real confidence is quiet. Arrogance is loud. Build yourself so deeply that you no longer need validation. That's when your presence will speak louder than words. Rule 4, lead with purpose. Every man must ask himself one question: what am I living for? Women are drawn to men with a mission, not men who drift. A man with purpose is like a ship with a compass, steady, clear, unstoppable. Let's take an example. In New York, there are two types of men. The first wakes up with no direction. He scrolls Instagram, complains about politics, goes to a job he hates, and spends his nights chasing women just to feel alive. His life is reaction, not creation. Women feel that emptiness instantly. The second wakes up early. He trains his body. He works on his business, his craft, or his studies. He has goals, whether it's building a company, writing a book, or mastering a skill. Women feel that too, and they're pulled into it because purpose is powerful. Marcus Aurelius lived with immense responsibility. An emperor, a general, a philosopher. Yet in his writings, he constantly reminded himself, stop wandering about. You aren't likely to read your notebooks again. So stop being distracted. Hold on to this principle. Follow reason and hold fast to your purpose. A woman wants to know, where is this man going? Because if he's going nowhere, he'll eventually drag her nowhere too. Psychology backs this. Studies show women are more attracted to men who demonstrate ambition, not because of money, but because ambition signals direction, drive, and strength. It tells her, this man won't crumble when life gets tough. Think about leaders in history. Abraham Lincoln, Winston Churchill, Martin Luther King Jr. These men weren't perfect, but they had purpose bigger than themselves. And that purpose made them magnetic, respected, unforgettable. Here's a story. A guy I knew, Sam, used to obsess over dating. Every weekend his goal was the same: meet a girl, impress her, get validation. But he was always frustrated. Then he shifted. He started focusing on building his music career. He poured his energy into writing songs, performing, growing his craft. And you know what happened? Women started noticing, not because he was chasing them, but because he was chasing purpose. Here's the paradox. When you make women your mission, you lose them. When you make your mission, women are drawn to you naturally. So ask yourself, what's my purpose? What's my North Star? It doesn't have to be world-changing. It just has to be real. Build toward it every day. Because here's the truth, a man with no purpose is a boy. But a man with purpose? That's unstoppable. Rule 5. Control your emotions. Picture this. You text a girl. She doesn't reply for hours. Suddenly your chest tightens. You start spiraling. Did I say something wrong? Is she with another guy? By the time she replies, you've already sent 3 double texts. Your emotions all over the place. Now flip the script. Same scenario. She doesn't reply. But instead of spiraling, you breathe. You put your phone down, hit the gym, focus on work. Hours later, when she replies, you respond calmly because your mood was never in her hands. That's emotional control. This is where most men fail. A woman flirts with someone else at a party. They explode in jealousy. She disagrees with them. They take it as an attack. She pulls back. They panic and chase harder. But here's the Stoic truth. Your emotions are yours. If you let others control them, you give away your power. Marcus Aurelius said, "You have power over your mind, not outside events." Realize this and you will find strength. Psychology explains this through emotional regulation. People who control their emotions are seen as stronger, more attractive, and more reliable. Women instinctively test men, not because they're cruel, but because they want to know, can this man stay grounded under pressure? Here's a real-life story. A guy named Matt once told me about a date where the girl intentionally flirted with the waiter. He admitted he felt jealous, but instead of reacting, he laughed, stayed calm, and carried the conversation. By the end of the night, she admitted she had done it just to see his reaction. His calmness impressed her more than anything he could have said. Western culture gives us constant tests. In America, women might delay texting back. In the UK, they might tease you in public. In Canada or Australia, they might challenge your opinions just to see if you'll break. If you lose control, you fail the test. But if you stay calm, collected, playful, you pass. So here's the rule. Don't react, respond. When she pushes your buttons, don't explode. Breathe, pause. Choose strength over weakness. Because emotional control isn't just attractive, it's essential. A man who can't control himself can't lead. Can't protect, can't be trusted when storms hit. Remember this, life will test you. Women will test you. The world will test you. But your emotions are your kingdom. And a man who rules his emotions rules his life. Rule 6, listen more than you talk. Most men think the way to impress a woman is by talking, telling stories, dropping jokes, showing off knowledge. But here's the truth most guys miss. The man who listens wins. Let me tell you a story. A friend of mine, Alex, was on a date in Boston. He spent the first 30 minutes telling her about his job, his hobbies, his workout routine, even his plans for the future. He thought he was killing it. But he noticed her eyes drifting, her phone buzzing, her energy fading. On his next date, he tried something different. He asked her about her childhood, her favorite book, the most exciting place she'd ever traveled. This time she lit up. She leaned in. By the end of the night, she said, "You're so easy to talk to." What changed? He shifted from performer to listener. Psychology explains it through the liking gap. Studies show that people walk away from conversations thinking the person who listened to them was smarter, kinder, and more attractive. Why? Because being truly heard is rare, and rare things are valuable. Think about it. In today's world, whether it's New York, London, or Sydney, everyone is screaming to be heard. Social media posts, opinions, arguments, it's endless noise. But the one who listens, that person becomes a magnet. Marcus Aurelius gave us wisdom here too. Listen kindly to what is said, and answer kindly to what is asked. Stoicism teaches us to listen before reacting, to observe before judging. And women notice, when you actually listen, not just wait for your turn to speak, you show 3 powerful things. 1, Confidence, because insecure men overtalk but grounded men don't need to. 2. Respect, because you value her voice as much as your own. 3. Because you can hold silence without fear. Here's a practical example. She tells you she had a rough day. Most guys respond with, "Well, my day was worse," or rush in with advice. The man who listens says, "That sounds tough. Tell me more." Wait, that's connection. That's intimacy. Another example. She shares a dream of starting her own business. The arrogant man interrupts. "That's unrealistic." The listener asks, "What made you want to start it?" See the difference? One shuts the door, the other opens it wider. And here's the kicker. Listening doesn't make you passive. It makes you powerful. Because once she feels heard, she'll want to hear you too. And that's when your words actually matter. So remember this, brother, talk less, listen more. Not because you have nothing to say, but because you value what others have to share. And in a world full of noise, the man who listens becomes unforgettable. Rule 7. Boundaries and respect. There's a saying, a man without boundaries is like a house without walls. Anyone can walk in and do whatever they want. Let me paint a picture. Chris was in a relationship where he said yes to everything. His girlfriend wanted to cancel his gym sessions. He agreed. She criticized his friends. He stopped seeing them. She even mocked his career goals and he laughed it off. He thought he was being understanding. But over time, she lost respect for him. Not because she was cruel, but because he didn't respect himself enough to set limits. This is the harsh truth. If you don't set boundaries, people won't respect you. Psychologists call this self-respect signaling. Boundaries show others how to treat you. No boundaries are no respect. Strong boundaries are strong respect. Here's the Stoic angle. Epictetus said, "No man is free who is not master of himself." Boundaries are the way you master your life. They're not about controlling others. They're about controlling what you will and won't accept. Let's break it down with real-life examples. A woman speaks to you in a disrespectful tone. The weak man stays quiet, afraid to lose her. The strong man calmly says, "I don't accept being spoken to like that." A girlfriend demands all your free time. The weak man cancels everything. The strong man says, "I love spending time with you, but I also need my time for the gym and my work." Friends pressure you to do something against your values. The weak man gives in. The strong man says, "That's not for me." Women don't lose attraction because you set boundaries. They lose attraction when you don't, because deep down, they want a man who can stand firm, even against them if necessary. Think of cultural examples. In Western dating, there's often a test. She might cancel plans last minute to see how you react. If you chase and beg, you fail. If you calmly say, "No worries, but let's reschedule when you're free and move on with your life," you pass. She sees you as grounded, not desperate. Here's a story. My buddy Eric once dated a woman who constantly pushed his limits. Late replies, flirting with other guys, demanding money for small things. For months he gave in, until one day he stopped. He told her, "This isn't working for me. I won't continue like this." She was shocked. For the first time, she realized she couldn't walk all over him. Ironically, that was the moment her respect for him returned. Boundaries are not walls to keep love out. They're gates to protect it. Without them, love rots into resentment. With them, love grows with respect. So, brother, ask yourself, where in my life am I letting others cross lines? And then remember, setting boundaries won't push the right woman away. It'll make her respect you more. Because in the end, boundaries don't just protect you, they define you. Rule 8, don't make her your world. There's a dangerous mistake men make when they fall in love. They let a woman become their entire world. I once knew a guy named Kevin. He was a gym rat, ambitious and always surrounded by friends. Then he met someone special. Slowly, without even realizing, he started skipping workouts to spend more time with her. He stopped meeting his friends. His career goals faded into the background. At first, she loved the attention. But over time, something shifted. She pulled away. Why? Because the man she fell for, the strong, independent, driven Kevin, was gone. Here's the paradox. The more you make her your whole world, the faster she'll want to escape it. Psychologists call this relationship balance. For love to thrive, both partners need individuality. When a man gives up everything, it creates pressure. It suffocates the relationship. Women don't want to be worshipped like goddesses. They want to be partners to strong men with their own lives. Marcus Aurelius gives us wisdom here. Waste no more time arguing about what a good man should be. Be one. A good man builds himself physically, mentally, socially. A good man has his own world. Think of Western culture. In Los Angeles, you'll see couples where one partner disappears into the other's life, and 9 out of 10 times it ends badly. But when both keep their individuality, hobbies, friends, purpose, the relationship thrives. Here's the lesson. She should be part of your world, not your entire universe. Keep your passions alive. Stay consistent with your routines. Maintain your brotherhood, your family ties, your goals. Another story. My friend Michael started dating a woman who was beautiful, charismatic, everything he thought he wanted. He made her his priority, stopped traveling, gave up playing guitar, rarely saw his family. And when she left him, he realized something painful. Not only had he lost her, he had lost himself. It took him years to rebuild. So remember this. True love is not about losing yourself in someone else. It's about bringing your full self into the relationship. The Stoic way is balance. Love her deeply, but don't lose yourself. Because the man who abandons his own life will eventually lose both his life and the woman he gave it up for. Rule 9. Walk away with dignity. One of the hardest lessons a man learns is knowing when to walk away. There was a guy named Liam. He stayed in a relationship long after it turned toxic. She lied, disrespected him, even flirted with other men in front of him. Still he stayed, thinking if he just loved her harder, things would change. But they didn't. And every day he stayed, he lost a little more of his dignity. Then one night after another fight, he looked in the mirror and didn't recognize himself. That's when he finally walked away. And in that moment, though it hurt, he reclaimed his power. Here's the truth, sometimes the most powerful move isn't to fight, it's to leave. Marcus Aurelius said, "You have power over your mind, not outside events. You can't control her actions, her loyalty, or her choices, but you can control yours." Psychology calls this self-preservation. Staying in toxic relationships destroys self-esteem. Walking away rebuilds it. Women may test boundaries, but if they repeatedly disrespect them, it's not a test anymore, it's a pattern. Think about Western dating culture. In New York or London, ghosting, disrespect, and games are common. Many men chase harder, trying to fix things. But the men who walk away calmly, with dignity, command respect, even if the relationship ends. Here's a story. A man I coached, Ethan, once told me he begged his ex to stay after she cheated. He thought that showed love, but she only lost more respect for him. Months later, when he finally left, she came crawling back, not because she loved him, but because she realized he had finally regained his strength. By then, he had already moved on. Walking away isn't weakness, it's wisdom. It says, "I respect myself too much to stay where I'm not valued." So remember this. You don't need to slam doors, scream, or burn bridges. Walking away with calm, with silence, with dignity, that's the loudest statement you'll ever make, because sometimes the best way to win is not to play the game. Rule 10, love, but don't lose yourself. At the end of it all, love is powerful. A strong relationship can elevate a man's life, but only if he loves without losing himself. Let me share a story. Marcus, a young man in Toronto, once told me he used to believe love meant sacrifice, giving everything, even his identity, for the woman he cared about. At first, she adored his devotion, but slowly she began to pull away. Why? Because he lost the very strength that attracted her in the first place. Love, when built on weakness, turns into dependence. Love, when built on strength, turns into growth. Love, when built on weakness, turns into dependence. Love, when built on strength, turns into growth. Stoic philosophy teaches balance. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "When you arise in the morning, think of what a precious privilege it is to be alive, to breathe, to think, to enjoy, to love." Notice love is included, but it's not the only thing. It's part of a greater life. Psychologists call this interdependence. The healthiest relationships are not about merging into one identity, but about two strong individuals walking side by side. She has her life, her passions, her purpose. You have yours, and together you build something greater. Here's a Western cultural example. Look at power couples, Barack and Michelle Obama, David and Victoria Beckham. They didn't abandon their individuality. They each had their own path. That's why their love endured. Another story. A man I knew, Jacob, dated a woman who pushed him to stop pursuing his art career. At first he gave in. thinking it would keep the peace. But years later, he was resentful toward her and himself. The relationship ended, and so did his sense of identity. He learned the hard way. If you lose yourself in love, you'll eventually lose both. So what's the lesson? Love her, cherish her, be loyal, but keep your mission alive. Keep your friendships alive. Keep your identity intact. Because the woman who truly loves you will never want you to shrink. She'll want you to grow. At the end of the day, women aren't drawn to men who disappear into them. They're drawn to men who remain themselves while loving fully. That's strength. That's stoicism. That's lasting love. So remember, love her, but don't lose yourself. Because the greatest gift you can give her is the man you've built yourself to be. Conclusion. So brother, remember this. Women don't fall for men who try too hard. They fall for men who are grounded, calm, purposeful, and self-respecting. 10 rules, 10 shifts in attitude. And once you live by them, you'll never chase respect again. You'll command it. Stay strong, stay stoic, and keep building yourself.